Regional banks were down a lot yesterday. At one time, I was looking at Fifth Third Bank was down 17% yesterday. Those are big swings. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. We're going to have a lot more volatility. I'm going to make money from it over time. But, a lot of people, if you didn't do the preparation ahead of time and you don't know what to do with the situation, if you haven't gone through markets mastery and you couldn't manage to do your homework consistently, then you're just going to miss out on it. Killian says, always good to have Jake on with you. The synergy between you and champs like him is off the charts. Thank you, Killian. See you this weekend. Killian later says, real estate is limited while the population is growing. Pressure to compete for the best resources is only going up. At the same time, the culture is turning into a massive monster. Banks are failing, and I don't think many people see clearly enough how bad things could get. War is already here. What are the future events you are already anticipating, and how can we optimally prepare for them? Well, it's a good question. Our culture is turning to shit. Western culture is so sad that never in history have things been so good for a group of people, and they've mismanaged it so badly. It's disgusting. Their ancestors would be disappointed and humiliated to see what many people of our generation are doing with the tremendous gifts and treasures that we've been handed that were paid for in blood, in misery of generations and generations and generations of humans that came before us for not just hundreds of years or thousands of years, but there's the first humanoids, I think, are about 8 million years. Homo sapiens around 300,000 years. So it's like everything that happened before Homo sapiens and 300,000 years of Homo sapien evolution, and we get to this pinnacle of awesome. We have these. You can get on a jet and fly across the world in hours. You can be on the other side of the world today, in less than 24 hours. You could traverse the world. Could be on the other side of the globe in less than 24 hours. You get the internet. You can speak to the other side of the world in real time via satellites. You could click a couple buttons on your phone and things just appear. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. There's, you can control the temperature. A normal person, a low IQ, underperforming individual has the resources of, indoor plumbing, hot water, can control the temperature in their home, not too hot, not too cold, all year long, despite wherever they might happen to live. It's amazing. It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable luxury. We have unimaginable luxuries that your ancestors couldn't have dreamed of, and people are squandering it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think regarding volatility in the markets, we're going to have more bank failures. And, the government's in a spot where they have to backstop the banks and create some certainty with the public, or at least perceived certainty with the public, that everything's going to be okay and the banks are okay and things are safe. But at the same time, they created basically a new quantitative easing program with the banks. They're preaching to the public quantitative tightening. And maybe this is a topic more appropriate for markets mastery in many cases, but they're talking about, quantitative tightening and reducing, easy money through higher interest rates and, taking cash out of the system, through bond purchases and whatnot, through the bond mechanisms that the Federal Reserve Bank uses. And then on the back end, they just created a new quantitative easing program that's going to undo the quantitative tightening that they're doing with the interest rates. And if they go raise interest rates more, which they probably will, by the way, when they go raise interest rates more, it's going to make it tougher for the banks to compete, because a lot of the banks have sold securities, mortgages and whatnot, at low interest rates. In 2021, interest rates are very low, extraordinarily low. And then there's a lot of long-term money tied up at those interest rates. So the banks are going to have a hard time competing, where you could take your money and go get a treasury note, which is considered more safe and offers a higher return. So people are going to take money out of the banks and buy treasuries and other investments. You think, oh, they take it out of the stock market and put it in the bank. Yeah, they do. But then they take it out of the bank and buy treasuries. Because treasuries give you a higher rate of return and is considered safer than the bank. So you're going to have, that might have been a trickle before, and now it's going to be a much more rapid outpouring. So yeah, I think you're going to have more bank liquidity problems. You had 2 bank failures already. There were, on the order of magnitude of almost $400 billion. And that's the number 2 and number 3 largest bank failures in U.S. history ever. And now Credit Suisse, if you look at what's happening in Credit Suisse, I think their stock was down 24% today. Regional banks were down a lot yesterday. At one time I was looking at Fifth Third Bank was down 17% yesterday. I think it closed at 13 point something% down. Those are big swings. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. We're going to have a lot more volatility. I'm going to make money from it over time. But, a lot of people, if you didn't do the preparation ahead of time and you don't know what to do with the situation, if you haven't gone through markets mastery and you couldn't manage to do your homework consistently, then you're just going to miss out on it. And then you can be a face and say, well, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So, well, no, your thoughts are poor. You got poor thoughts and a poor work ethic. That's why your bank account's poor. If those are mean words, tough shit. It's a lot meaner than that, reality. Reality is mean. So you're living a delusion if you think I'll make a half-ass effort and do the work that I want to. I'll do the work that's convenient. I'll do it if I want to. All right. Well, what are your outcomes going to look like? You're not going to be here with me. You're not going to be in Las Vegas with me this weekend. You're not going to be invited in the future to anything. You're just signaling to me that you really don't belong in the group. That's cool. Go ahead. Go do something else. To Killian's question, additionally, so you're going to have concern about banks, concern about volatility. There's never been a better time for China to go take Taiwan. And if that happens, you're going to have tremendous volatility. You're going to have tremendous volatility. You're never going to see anything like it in your life. So the U.S. has never been weaker in being able to defend itself relative to China. And China, since World War II, essentially when Taiwan declared its independence, 70-something years ago, there's not been a better time. There's not been a better time than now for China to go take Taiwan. So, I think that's another concern or something that I keep an eye on that I wonder, if that happened, would the market go down, 10% or 20% this week? And if you have higher beta stocks, what would they do? Well, they would go down significantly more. So it's going to be a wild time out there. There's going to be tremendous wealth, trillions and trillions of dollars. There's going to be losers and winners of trillions of dollars. You'll decide which side you're on. If you didn't do the work ahead of time, you won't win now. And if you don't do the work now, you're going to continue to lose in the future. Tim says, just landed in Vegas. It's amazing how packed the city is in a month like March. I had a short walk yesterday and went to one of our malls at the Shops at Crystals. That's a Simon Property Group mall. To see how things are going. Without a doubt, this is one of the most beautiful pieces of real estate in the entire U.S. It reminded me of early 2020 when you helped me with my portfolio, when everybody was panicking and we're buying big chunks of SPG in the 40s and 50s. It's great to be back in the U.S. This will be a fantastic week. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and thanks a lot for bringing Jake. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. And I like crystals. I bought a lot of Simon stock. When it pulled back in September, I bought another 10,000 shares at $86 and change. So I spent almost another $1 million. Less than 900,000. But I spent another 900,000 almost on Simon when the stock was back at 86.20, something like that. So I was happy to create a big position around $50. I was happy to buy some more about $80, and I think in the future you get a $200 stock. Right now it's about 109, I think 110 today, 109 when it closed, something like that. And I think Simon's great. I think it's going to do. It's not the type of stock that's going to triple or quadruple, but it's a really solid company. They have beautiful properties. We've got great financial statements, and I think they're going to have a bright future, and we're going to be beneficiaries of it. So I like it. So I'll see you soon. I'm excited to see you tomorrow. And thank you for your comment and thoughtfulness to share here. Daniel G. Daniel says, thank you, Jake and Derek. Doing right things consistently wins the race. Looking forward to the conference. I'll see you soon, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. Charles says, thank you, Jake and Derek. I was curious on your thoughts of SVB and what we learned from it. It seems to be very similar to the 2008 crash. In some ways, it's worse than the 2008 crash, and things could get a lot worse. There's so many things. The federal balance sheet is so much bigger than it was in 2008. The Federal Reserve balance sheet's tremendously expanded. We've already had a decade plus of very low interest rates. And, in 2008, you could drop the rates, have these low rates, easy money policies, and that let us drag the carcass of America around for another 12 years before there was a serious problem in 2020. So I don't know how we're going to do that again right now. I don't know how they can do that with a straight face or any consistency to say that we're going to beat down inflation without having more bank failures and more. If you raise the interest rates to fight inflation, then you're making the banks less competitive, and you're going to have more bank failures. If they don't keep raising the interest rates to fight inflation, then the banks are more secure in the short term, but you're going to have higher inflation. And at some point, when you have high enough inflation, nobody trusts the currency, and they don't want to transact in dollars. And at some point, the dollar is not worth anything. So if you let inflation get too high for too long, it's very hard to pull it back, and you crash the system a different way. I think they'll go that way. Honestly, I think that in the short term they'll raise interest rates more in 2023. I would guess in 2024 it's an election year, and they're going to back off of that a bit. And I would expect more volatility and bank failures in the short term, and then and next year they might pull that back. Stocks can boom for a while, but at some point, nobody trusts the currency. So I hope they don't allow things to get too carried away. But we'll see. We're going to find out, homie. Some people are confused. They say, Derek, what is the 10 Commandments of Wealth? Not the 10 maybes of wealth. It's the 10 core things that you're going to need to know about in detail if you'd like to accumulate significant wealth in your lifetime. Click this link up here to find more information on exactly what is the 10 Commandments of Wealth, how is the program structured, what's inside of it, how are you going to benefit from it. If you're doing well already and you'd like to do better, click that link and find out more. There's over 100 hours of content in this program. I've interviewed dozens of world champions that shared what it took for them to win, to be the top Hall of Fame athletes in their respective areas. And I brought a lot of other superstars in there from business, from legal, people that are real world entrepreneurs that made serious money, as I have myself. We all share with you what are the foundations you're going to need to know if you want to be successful yourself. Be a chooser, not a loser. Click that link, find out more. I'll see you inside.